Paul Pelosi attacked allegedly by David DePape with the hammer. And, the initial reports said that he's a friend. That's what Paul Pelosi said about the alleged invader, David DePape, the home invader. He said, he's a friend. Take a listen to this right here.
Northern 4 car, 8 priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. 14 hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend.
Oh, okay. He's a friend. So police show up to the home of one Paul Pelosi. Nancy wasn't there. We initially hear that the door was opened by a third unidentified person. That was according to the first police report. Now the story's changed and said there wasn't a third person in the home. And now we're also hearing that Paul Pelosi wasn't friends with David DePape. No way. They didn't know each other. No. Okay, well, why then were the police responding to the call of a Paul Pelosi who said David DePape was a friend? And why was Paul Pelosi, upon greeting the police at his front door, why did he do this right here? It doesn't make any sense. Take a listen to this clip. We have new information from investigators on the scene in San Francisco. This is the Today Show.
Craig, good morning. When officers arrived here at the Pelosi home exactly a week ago today, they initially didn't have any idea exactly what was going on. They knew they had a high priority call on their hand. What was unclear, what was happening inside the property just behind me.
This morning, Paul Pelosi is home, back at the house that became a crime scene a week ago today. NBC News learning new details about the moments police arrived. Sources familiar with what unfolded in the Pelosi residence now revealing when officers responded to the high-priority call, they were seemingly unaware they'd been called to the home of the Speaker of the House. After a knock and announce, the front door was opened by Mr. Pelosi. The 82-year-old did not immediately declare an emergency or try to leave his home, but instead began walking several feet back into the foyer toward the assailant and away from police. It's unclear if the 82-year-old was already injured or what his mental state was, say sources. According to court documents, when the officer asked what was going on, defendant smiled and said everything's good. But instantaneously, a struggle ensued as police clearly saw David DePape strike Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer. After tackling the suspect, officers rushed to Mr. Pelosi, who was lying in a pool of blood.
What we do know is he brutally attacked Mr. Pelosi and attempted to kill him.
After spending several days in the ICU, Pelosi, who is recovering from a fractured skull and serious injuries to his arm and hand, is now home, where Capitol Police remain on alert. Investigators have previously said Pelosi did not know DePape when the 42-year-old broke into his home. Why Pelosi didn't try to flee or tell responding officers he was in distress is unclear.
Fear takes over. Fear freezes people.
This morning, the 82-year-old lucky to be alive after an intruder nearly killed him in his own home.
Law enforcement officials tell us the bottom line here is this was a terrifying situation. We still don't know exactly what unfolded between Mr. Pelosi and the suspect for the 30 minutes they were alone inside that house before police arrived. Officials who were investigating this matter would not go into further details about these new details. Craig, back to you.
Okay. So all I'm saying is none of this stuff adds up. And that information that we just got from today's show makes matters a whole lot less clear. It raises a whole lot more questions. Again, why did Paul Pelosi go back into the home towards the alleged invader and then get hit over the head with a hammer by him? Well, questions aren't good, according to the Today Show. So after this was posted on Twitter, the Today Show not only scrubbed it from Twitter, the tweet's been deleted, they also scrubbed it from their website and from all other platforms in which that video was posted. Questions are bad, and that video caused too many questions to be asked. Jimmy Dore said this right here. So Paul Pelosi was with the guy for a half hour, doesn't try to flee, but instead answers the door, lets cops in, and walks right back over to DePappy. This is normal. Dem should immediately shift gears and accuse anyone who asks questions about this assault of being homophobic. There very well could be nothing weird about this story, but they are inviting skepticism, and they're inviting general distrust when they refuse to bear the facts and when they constantly are changing the story. Take a listen to what Glenn Greenwald had to say about this very subject matter on Tucker Carlson just the other day.
So everybody feels, obviously, pain thinking of an 82-year-old man being hit with a hammer. It's like the worst thing imaginable. Well, it's quite common now. But why should the rest of us sit here and accept obvious inconsistencies in a story that has public policy implications and not say anything?
We obviously shouldn't, and I think this is the most important point about all of this, which is how many millions of people have been conditioned to believe that it's immoral or even some kind of reflection of mental illness, like you're a conspiracy theorist, if you don't immediately and unquestionably accept whatever story is told to you by institutions of authority. And the amazing thing about that, Tucker, is that this framework is being constructed by journalists, people whose primary purpose in life is supposed to be to question and challenge the claims of the powerful, and instead they're demonizing anybody who does so. Skepticism itself can never be wrong. Skepticism says there's evidentiary holes and there's faulty reasoning in what we're being told. Even if evidence does emerge later on to prove it, the skepticism itself was not just valid but necessary.
So Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. The Russians blew up their own pipeline. Julian Assange is a criminal. I mean, maybe we're in the habit of just accepting the most ludicrous possible claims and moving on to the next thing. It feels like where we are.
I mean, I remember, Victoria Nuland, who's the State Department official in charge of Ukraine, went before Congress and said, we're really worried that the U.S. and Ukraine have biological labs that are very dangerous, and if they fall into the Russian hands, it can be a disaster.
I got banned off Twitch for saying that.
And anyone who said, wait, what does she mean, was instantly branded a conspiracy theorist. How many people were called conspiracy theorists because they questioned whether the vaccine works the way they were told to work or anything
I love his laugh.
else? This is what they do, is demonize questioning.
I think you were on that night. What, biolabs in Ukraine? Shut up, Putin apologist! What? Glenn Greenwald. Always do like a palate cleanser, the fresh air of sanity coming into the studio. Thank you very much.
You're not allowed to ask questions. Not allowed to ask questions. So all I'm going to say is I lead a very happy life, and I've maybe asked too many questions, and I'm definitely in no way, shape, or form suicidal. And if you find me if they ever find me with two bullets in my body, just know it wasn't me. Just know it wasn't me.